Thanks for joining me here at Exhausting Life, and I just got back from my most recent trip to Big Bear, and I spent some time up there this time documenting all the gear and the process I go through in setting up. So I want to spend some time today going over all the details, what I mean by fast deploy, how I kit up everything, and really to give you an idea of the camping experience that I created. So stay tuned, we got a lot to go over. Having decided on a rooftop tent for my Jeep build, I wanted to make sure that what I got was light, strong, and very versatile. The GFC Platform RTT is just that. Keeping in line with the objective to have a fast deploy campsite, the GFC only requires that you get to where its latches are, and as you can see I have one on the passenger side and one here on the driver's side. Once you release those two, all you've got to do is simply push up on the back of the tent, and the two gas struts will take over in making sure that the tent is pushed all the way up. Next up, I want to get some shade around the campsite, and what I have for that is a batwing style awning. This one happens to be made by Rome Adventure Company. This is their ARC 270, and this is their second generation of awnings, their first being built around universal type design and also being very compact. This one has a much more robust type build, but it's designed around deploying very quickly. As you can see here, I've had to unzip the protective cover on the outside. There was a few clips I had to undo to get the awning released on the inside, and there's only one part of this that's not actually attached to the awning that you have to get, and that's the webbing guy line. And as you can see here, all I've got to do is attach this to the edge of the awning, and this will help me draw it completely open, but it's also one that has a metal cinch buckle to allow you to pull tension on the awning so that it stays nice and taut. I do like that feature, and this is something about this particular awning that I like, is that it doesn't sag. With that in mind, they also made sure that there's a peak in the middle, and all you've got to do is go to the central arm, push that up, and this just helps keep tension on the awning while also preventing water from accumulating if you do have some rain or snow. Now, paying attention to the fact it's only been 90 seconds since I stopped the vehicle, this is a very fast deploy setup. I've got the tent up, I've got shade up, and I can do any number of things now depending upon what kind of camping I'm doing. For this trip to Big Bear, I am going to be here for 2 nights and a couple of days, and I am using this as a base camp, and I'm not going to be changing each night. So I will be setting up a little bit more of my camp gear, and for this trip I brought along all of my Dometic goodies. This is going to be the Dometic Go compact table, and I'm also going to use a couple of Dometic Go compact camp chairs. And while these are nice, I do enjoy the fact that these are very comfortable and very easy to deploy. They do take up more space, but we'll make up for that and we'll talk about that later. Now I'm going to grab my GFC ladder, which I have neatly mounted to the Rhino rack backbone Molle panel. This is something new that they just released, and this lets me keep the GFC ladder neat and tidy in a place that doesn't use extra space, but probably more important, it's strapped to a panel that just isn't going to rattle when I'm going down those rough trails. Another piece of gear that I like to set up when I'm going to be at camp for multiple days is a source of running water. And in this case, I am using a Dometic Go product. This is their hydration water faucet, which is a rechargeable electric pump that hooks up to their jug, and I think that's just about 3 gallons of water that I keep just on top of the fridge. And all you have to do is use the supplied hose, or in my case I bought a longer hose so I can keep the faucet down low where I'd like to keep it on my bumper, and then use the quick release to attach it to their jug. The magnetic base is super handy and allows for easy one-handed operation, and just makes something very convenient to have to wash your hands or plates when you're at your campsite. Now I'm going to spend the next few minutes while it's still daylight outside getting my sleep area inside the rooftop tent prepared. I'll grab all of my clothes and any other things I want to bring up with me, my sleeping bag, climb the ladder, and get those things tossed inside so they're out of the way. Another nice thing to have when you're going to be on the trail camping for several days is a way to recover power. Solar's probably the most popular option these days, and there's a few things out there that make sense, and I've chosen to go with a couple of Zamp solar panels. I'm using the Obsidian 100 watt. I have one fixed one on the top, as well as the portable one I'm setting up down on the ground. The reason why I didn't put them both up there when I do have the space for it is simply because there's sometimes an option where I do want to be somewhere in the shade, and I will collect sunlight from the top in one position and then also focus the ground in another direction. This simply means that I've got power coming in at all times, and as long as I couple that to the portable battery pack that I got from Dometic, this means that I have independent power reserve separate of the engine, which means no overusage is going to keep me from starting up in the morning. Now, when I have gear that's specific to just one particular trip, I don't like to keep it stored in the vehicle permanently. And for that, I like to use these 66-liter Rome cases, and these are just right for the size between the camp kitchen and the back of the driver's seat. The great part about Rome is they make so many different shapes and sizes that you should be able to find one that you can put in your vehicle, but also safely strap in. That's another thing I like to do, is make sure all my gear is secure. The first thing I'm going to unpack from the cases are going to be my GMRS handheld radios. I do plan to do some hiking today, and they're the perfect handheld to match up to what I have inside the Jeep. So if I'm out and about, need to communicate back with home base, the handheld unit will communicate directly with any GMRS, but I've got the one sitting inside the Jeep as well. The next thing I want to do, it's probably going to be a little dark when I get back, is get my lighting set up before I get back. And I did pick up one of these Devos area lights. I've not used one of these before. This is my first time out with it, so I'm going to go ahead and set that up, and I'll let you guys know how that performs. It's pretty cool though. It's got a tripod that it comes with, and the head unit is rechargeable, and it seems to have a bunch of different modes for lighting either under the awning or an area light outside. Again, I'll give you some feedback once I have a chance to use it. I use some other lighting as well. This happens to be something developed by Rome that's intended to be used with a lot of their products, but you can use it any way you want. This bag that it comes in is actually something that is transparent, so you can actually hang the bag and leave it in there, just plug it in, and it works sort of as an area light or a lantern. Additionally, it also has a tube intended to be slipped into any channel, and in the Rome product line, you'll see these channels available all over the place. And as you'll see here, it basically slides in through that channel, and then it lines underneath the awning, so this provides me some ambient light on the bottom. The great part is, this can be used with just about anything you want. They have multiple means of hanging. All you've got to do is plug this into a USB port, or use the enclosed battery to get yourself some lighting in an area where you don't have any power. I'm a big Tembo Tusk fan, so I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. Basically going to prep for dinner. I want to make sure I have all my gear out and ready to go before I do anything. And what I want to make sure I have time to do is, while the sun's out, is go through all the gear I have and all the compartments around the vehicle. So I'm going to get the Tembo Tusk set up. If you've been through this process, it's pretty straightforward. They do a good job of packaging, and it's just one of those things you got to spend some time learning. I enjoy cooking at home. Cooking on a skottle is a little different, but the great part is the process of kind of figuring it out. So there's plenty of people out there. I'm glad I know Marco, Overland X. He's definitely shown me some new light on how to use this tool and get the most out of it and enjoy the process. And I think that's probably the best part about getting out here and camping and trying all this new gear. There's a lot of gear, and it's not just about the accumulation of gear, it's the learning process that goes into trying to get the most out of it. And for me, it's about the packaging as much as it is about the utility, but there's that process of learning, and that's really what I enjoy. That gives you a good idea of what I go through in the process of setting up my campsite. Now, I want to take a little bit more time today to dive a little deeper into all the other kitting I've put throughout the Jeep. I've got the Goose Gear plate system, which gives us tons of storage space, and I'm going to go through each of those pockets and show you just what I put in there for, hopefully, not everyday use, but those emergencies to make sure I can get home to. The rearmost compartment on the Goose Gear plate in the back is kind of my quick access area. I keep the universal Jeep kit here. This is the one that you get for removing your hardtop and such from Jeep. I've got a couple of other kind of pre-packaged kits. Both of these are from Scosche. This is their jumper flashlight, kind of cool in the sense that it's a flashlight. So you've got normal flashlight functions, but on the back, because of the large size battery that it contains, it's actually got the ability to jump a battery. So they give you these jumper cables in the kit, plugs into the back. So now you've got this power bank, but it also serves the purpose as a light, which I think I'll probably use more than the jumper cables. So having something that's got a little bit better utility is pretty cool. The Scosche power station, this is something I like to bring up to the rooftop tent. It's super compact, but this is a AC inverter, just enough to put like my cell phone, whatever, maybe my tablet when I'm up there, just getting ready to watch a movie before sleep. Whatever it is, this just allows me to charge a single device. It's got a good sized battery in it, a light as well, but I like the fact it's super compact, so it's easy to toss up into the rooftop tent. It also has all the cables and the AC adapter to get this charged up as well. It's a big hole down here, so I also keep a couple other electrical devices. I have these PowerTank kind of storage containers. They had them on a clearance sale. And I keep some other electronics in here. This is a little scope I use so I can kind of peer around things in the engine compartment. It's pretty tight up there. Can't have enough electronics, diagnostic stuff, so a multimeter is always a must. Those are all things that I like to kind of keep handy, but separated from my rest of my tools. The last, of course, when it comes to diagnostics with any kind of computer-controlled car is a diagnostics connector here. So I can go to the ALDL and see what the codes are, or if there are any, or if I have some, kind of figure out what it is and what I need to do to get the Jeep back on the road should it have any issues. It's nice that PowerTank makes these little containers, makes it all packed nice and neatly. Most importantly, when you stack everything down here, it just doesn't rattle. Coming from the passenger side on the rear, the 60% delete is the larger of the two access panels. And as you can see, that's these right here. And on this side, You get top access, but there's no side infill panel, and that means I can get access to some of these things quickly. Like most of the time when I'm getting ready to go somewhere, I do have to deflate the tire, which means I need access to my tire deflator. So I've got a couple of those valve stem kind of remover types. I also have this kit that came from PowerTank that is a stem style screw-on, and they're adjustable so they'll deflate to a pre-designated pressure. These are nice to get going, or really the reason why I have so many of these is that there's just sometimes multiple people on the trail, and getting people on the trail quicker means I can get on the trail quicker as well. Replacement Schrader valves, but this kit pretty much is just what I have for my tire deflation. Put that aside. I also have in this same compartment a step stool. I carry a couple of different cloths throughout different compartments. These are just to kind of keep from having things rattle around, but it doesn't hurt to have them. This is my primary tire inflator. It's a dual pump style. This happens to be one that was sold at Napa. This particular one actually is one of the highest power ones that I've been able to work with. It is actually very cheap, but in the cheap price, I also assume there's some product quality. I already noticed that one of them had a little bit of an issue with being noisy and had to rebuild that. I posted that in my social back in the day, but this pump for $100 is pretty hard to beat. It fills a 37-inch tire in just under 4 or 5 minutes. So definitely one of those things that's nice to have. Now, moving to other means of inflation, I do carry a PowerTank, which means I have all the PowerTank accessories. Here I've got their hose, but with the hose too, the nice thing about the PowerTank is it is just like a portable air compressor. So I have, you know, blow valve and a few other accessories here that I can use the compressed air for other than simply just to inflate the tire. With that, you also need to have your tire pressure fill valve and of course your gauge. So they have a nice valve that does that. Can't have too many of these, and this is basically ratchet straps and strap down devices, whether it's for gear or trying to hobble something off the trail. Gotta have that. I also have some soft shackle equipment. I do have a synthetic rope on my Warn 12S. This gives me the ability to use the soft shackle, and I have a synthetic rope snatch block. A couple of these, if you've had a Max Trax, these are those joining pieces that you can use for that, but all recovery related product in these pouches. Speaking of recovery, this does have a receiver hitch on the back, and sometimes that becomes a recovery point, so I have a number of different adapters and such for that. Never know when you're going to need a lock. Big zip ties, got a few more of those over here too. Those can save you in a bind. This happens to be a standard fire extinguisher. I do keep this one here for when I use my camp kitchen out back. Just tuck it away neatly there. I do have the long range rugged radio antenna. This does allow me to get a little bit more range when I do need it. But this basically I can put on if I'm going to go out in a little bit more remote area. Got to have toe strap. And then the heavy gear, while I do have some of the snatch block stuff for the synthetic rope as well as cable, I also have the stuff for the soft shackle. I have traditional D-rings here and a tree saver as well. So the heavy gear and the light duty gear, basically everything on this side is related to recovery or tire inflation and deflation. If you're lucky enough to get a Rubicon that has the Molle panel on the back of the seat, I like to use these pouches from 511. They're kind of my go-to for any of the accessories on Molle panel devices. And here, I've kind of got different things on both sides. This one is sort of my lighting bag. I have any number of like headlamps. You always find a person at camp that's trying to get around that doesn't have a headlamp. I've got some solar rechargeable ones, even a fan and a bunch of other just electrical cables for charging and such. But the fan helps when I do sleep in here, and I'll kind of talk about that at a later date. But yeah, just keep all of my lighting or quick access lighting in an accessible spot behind the seat. This pouch is kind of my trail snacks, I guess you call it. I got hot chocolate, oatmeal. I'm diabetic, so sometimes I need that quick pump on the sugar that is there. But it's nice to keep some stuff. I have a little mini hatchet that I keep on the back, but for the most part, just quick access behind the seat. So with the driver's side Molle, same thing, all the 511 pouches, some of my self-protection stuff. I've got a pouch here for my Leatherman, flashlight. These are all Velcro accessories you can find from 511. This is just, you know, pens, pencils, things like that to make notes. I carry auxiliary radios here. This is just electronics for those radios. I have, this is my pack out stuff for obviously toilet paper, TP, hand wash, all of those type of things. Keep all that readily available. So if I need to grab that stuff, it's quickly available, not necessarily tucked away under here. These are my straps to help my roam boxes down. And then this that you see under the seat here, I don't know if you can see the reflective material. When I do sleep inside the back of the vehicle, this blacks out all the windows and also helps keep heat in or keeps heat out. Nice part about that reflective materials, it's good for both conditions, and it also gives you some privacy if you just want to black out the sunlight and stay in here during the day. Definitely something that is nice to have is those pouches so that you have some quick access that's not necessarily under the floorboard. On the driver's side, or the 40% side of the Goose Gear Stealth Sleep package, there's two smaller compartments. This section is reserved for all of my tools. Here in the front section is my hand tool section, and here in the back section is all of my power tools. Now, the front section is, for the most part, just the Boxo off-road tool bag. This kit is very comprehensive. I've been very happy with it. And one of the things I will comment on too is I don't like using the side infills, simply because, again, like I described, I have cases on top of this. And not having that means I can access most tool bags from the side as well as the top. That comes in handy if I'm actually doing a field repair and I'm not set up at camp yet. So these are the bags you get with the Boxo setup. I put a number of different things in them. These come kind of partially full. This used to have their tire repair kit, which I have switched out for a more comprehensive one. But now I've got basically quick liquid repair stuff, JB Weld, Loctite, things like that that I might need out in the field. Nice part about the Boxo toolkit is these bags are only there for whatever you want to use them for. Here I have some proprietary stuff. Here's another one of those Jeep kits for the top removal and some of the other Jeep proprietary things. These are for some of the roof accessories in case I need to service them in the field. The larger bags come with some very specific tools. This is kind of cutting utensils, things of that sort, some wire strippers, vice grips. I am in the exhaust business, so an exhaust hanger remover, that's more or less for the things that I do kind of work related. This is the heavier bag, so in here, you'll find things such as my big cutters. I've got a pry bar in the bottom here, dead blow, and of course a regular hammer. And then the two primary kits are tool bags. So this one happens to be the SAE bag. So this will contain all of my Imperial stuff, and you're going to find a complete 3/8 drive socket set. You'll find a combination wrench here, open end on one side, 12 point on the other. And there's a few openings, and in those openings, this big one here, I've actually put my T-bar for removing lug nuts in the event I don't have power. I've inserted some of my 1/4-inch drive stuff. This kit does not come with 1/4-inch drive, but the cool part is it does have accommodations so that you can add tools as you need. The primary tool bag is, of course, for the metric. The Jeep being primarily a metric vehicle, this has got a little bit more comprehensive coverage, but it also contains all the regular tools that are going to need to operate all the inch components. So here, you're going to find your combo wrenches again, hand driver here. This is a 1/4-inch drive, 3/8 drive, punch, hex key, Torx, 1/2-inch drive, ratchet, extensions, breaker bar, adjustable wrench, Phillips screwdriver, flat blade screwdriver, and a pretty comprehensive socket set that includes some of the larger axle sizes, as well as, of course, the protected shields for taking your lug nuts off. The great part, again, is the bag is big enough to accommodate some more stuff, so as I start to compile more tools or need some specialty stuff, it will definitely be able to accommodate that. The last thing that you're going to find in this front compartment is my more comprehensive PowerTank version of my tire repair kit. This tire repair kit does have a few more things, including pretty much everything you need to do a plug. So you've got the cleaner, of course, you got the plug retainer T-handle, some rubber cement, the different plugs. It's got some spare valve stems. Should you shear one of those off out in the field, you've got a way to put that back on with the installer and the wire. And of course, just the basic tools you'll need to get through that part of any kind of tire repair. Moving on to the rear section, this is where my power tools reside. And here, I keep a few things, just the most basic of the power tools, but the stuff I find is pretty useful. I've got a Dewalt 3/8 impact style driver. And this one is also my other handy piece here. Of course, the high torque 1/2-inch drive. If you've got some pretty wicked suspension parts that have to come off in the field and you have the space to put this in, it's super handy to have. If it's just a wheel and tire swap, it makes it that much easier. I do carry around and some of the accessories as well. So I do have a charger here. I, of course, have the lithium battery pack here, and I have an inverter. A couple of large battery packs, ones that have some quick access so I can see what the charge state is. And of course, I've got a drill kit and the adapter kit for most of the common accessories for nut driving and other types of either hex, Phillips, or screwdriver type bits. 90-degree adapter, extensions, you name it, just the basic stuff you need here to make sure that you can do a service with the tools that you have packed inside. So behind the driver's seat, I have the Goose Gear Camp Kitchen, and of course I've got the Dometic fridge set up. This setup is something I'm still working on, so some of the wires aren't quite set up the way I'd like them yet. But the most important part is I found a home for their lithium battery pack. I made a bracket that mounts into the factory components here on the side. It ties in, really doesn't matter that I have the backbone system or not, but this setup allows me to strap the lithium battery pack in a way that's not bouncing around. It allows me to plug in the fridge and also plug in the solar. The solar right now is this wire that's loose here. I haven't drilled the top roof line yet. I'm still not decided on how I want to do that and where I want to do that. But the Zamp solar panels on the roof basically power the Dometic. And the great part about this is that I can go through the day and the sunlight that I get keeps this battery pack charged and keeps the refrigerator running 24/7. And like you can see here, this white wire is all of the room lighting I use under the awning, and that plugs right in here. So it's nice to have a common area that is secured, and I keep some things like my toiletries and some cloth stuff just underneath it for quick access. But having a central place to keep the power next to the fridge that's for the fridge, and for the most part a place that is wasted space. So I am working on developing this piece out further. Not sure what I want to do with it, but it is something that someone can replicate. But bottom line is it's a nice way to store power and have it readily accessible to the fridge. Well, there you have it. That's not everything, but I did try to go over as much as I could. If you have any questions about what exactly I did, please put those in the comments. If there's anything you think I missed that I should elaborate on, of course, put those in the comments too. But more importantly, please like and subscribe. Hit that notifications bell. That does help me. But at the end of the day, if I don't see you here, I hope to see you on the trail.